Well, I checked. We don't have any remote people here today, so it's just you guys and whoever is watching this after the fact. So, objectives for this. I'm just gonna program. I'm not gonna have any breaks where I'm gonna take questions during the time. What I would like you to do is, while you watch, answer these 3 questions on a whiteboard. So actually writing them down. So either into paper or onto your table next to you or on a whiteboard slate. I don't want you to type them down. I want you to actually write them. So the first question is, how did the coder, who is me of course, approach each problem? Also, the next question is, did the coder ever get stuck? And if he did, why or why not? What did the coder do that I will now do when I code, and why? So I also have these questions on the actual display so that you can see them, and hopefully they're very, very, very clear. Now I'm going to start with gmoney 1, and we're going to stop around 3:45, however long I get into that. I'm going to be explaining what I'm doing out loud, so that will slow things down tremendously for that. So while you guys are writing the questions down, any questions that you have about what's about to happen?
How do you think about, or maybe this is, how far do you think that you're going to get in this exercise? Is that something you care about when you start, or are you just going to start going through your process here?
I don't really care about how far I'm going to get whenever I get into any coding session, because that just puts unnecessary stress on myself.
Yeah. So what is your mindset going into this exercise and any other coding exercise that you're doing?
Just sort of looking forward to being able to actually code and have fun with it.
How do you deal with feeling kind of unprepared from a syntax standpoint as opposed to a problem-solving standpoint? Because from having been through this drill before, there's nothing really logistically challenging about it. It's like addition and stuff and multiplication, which I'm assuming nobody in this room struggles with that much. It's more of going from JavaScript fundamentals of let's print the array of colors to the console and let's loop through the array 1, 2, 3, 4, which is which you could essentially do after concentrating on JavaScript for 2 days, versus getting into this this is the first real programming drill you do at Galvanize, getting into kind of this completely unfamiliar environment, not even knowing how to start writing it.
I think so. The answer for me, and I'm going to answer this from my perspective, which is nowadays that happens when I jump to another language, let's say. And I don't know what the syntax is. I know what I want to do though, and so I go to Google and type in what I want to do, but I try to imagine the blog article that I'm going to get and write my query using keywords that I think that author wrote. So it's not a question to Google to answer. I'm giving keywords. So for example, I wouldn't do how to, because I don't think an author would write how to in their blog article. They might write, all right, I'm going to show you array methods and doing this quick trick with this. So it might be something like, okay, array, loop through, return array. Basically keywords from a developer to a developer. And if that doesn't give me the search results, usually it gets me close enough that I can do another search and get refined the results. So I'm willing to go multiple searches in before I figure out what I really need. And that way I can start with very generic wording and then eventually dial it into the exact method that I need. So if I don't know like split, for example, to like split apart a string into an array, I might start with, okay, string to array, JavaScript. And then start from there going like, oh, there's a whole bunch of these things. Wait a second, I see split in there, and that sounds familiar, but maybe not. Let me go actually do split JavaScript array as a new search term, find a specific article on that thing, read it, okay, that's what I want. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I assume most people kind of struggle bridging the gap between like learning the concepts and being able to apply them. Kind of like how anybody here is taking like a language, right? So it's like you could learn a bunch of vocab words for like Spanish, like days of the week, colors, numbers, and like know a lot of that stuff, no problem. But wouldn't be able to really write a sentence beyond like, where's the bathroom, or like I love pants kind of thing. Like, I guess just using the basics to like put together something meaningful versus just knowing concept isolation.
To that end, I often will look at solutions that other people do, and then sort of try to figure out what is it doing, and then go back, delete my own code, whatever I have, and start over again. And if I like reference back to the solution if necessary, and keep on repeating until I don't need to reference the solution. All right. Any last questions? Going once, going twice. All right, let's get started here. So down on our right here, I have make this a little bit bigger. I have drill number 1 sitting here, and I want to run npm test. And of course, I get an error because I didn't actually follow the instructions here. If I were to quit out of this and take a look at the README, it would tell me, okay, run npm install first. So npm install. I do often get myself into trouble where I try it first, and then as soon as it fails, then I'll go look at the instructions. Now I can do npm test. And okay, I've got, looks like 3 errors here. All of them are failing. And all right, so I'm going to ignore every error except the first one because I'm sure that all the other errors are relying upon, like, they mean nothing to me until the first one is done. So Galvanize money can add a transaction object to the register array. Assertion error. You need a register. Well, that's like whatever the language, it just says you need a register. It doesn't really tell me anything besides I need a register. So let's go take a look at this. Go into index. Oh, well, that's because I have no register here, is it? All right, I'll take you. Let's create a register. So const register equals. Oh, watch, you don't need to yell at me. Okay, so what does the register need to be? No idea. I'll just create a register like that. And save this. And let's rerun our tests. Completely different error this time. Oh, missing it. Okay, I can't just do const. I have to assign it to something. Well, I have no idea what to assign it to, so I'm going to assign it to empty string. All right, let's do it. What do we do? What do we get? Assertion error. Your register needs to be an object. Okay, so different error this time. I need to tell you to be an object. Save that. Rerun this. Let's make this a little bit bigger. All right. Your register needs transactions. Okay, so can add a transaction object to the register array. So I've made through, like, this is all one test, but clearly they have multiple things that they're looking for in this one test. So what I need to do, your register needs transactions. So let's go back and take a look at this README here. Test number 1, adding a transaction to the register. For this test, you will need to create a register object that has an, well, yeah, see, I could have gotten this if I had just read the instructions, that has an empty array in it called transactions. Write a function called add transaction that takes a transaction object and adds it to the transactions array in register. A transaction object looks like this, and I don't really care what it looks like because they're just going to give it to me. So I need a transactions inside that register. Perfect. Quit out of here. Index. Let's add that into register. And inside of here, it is transactions. It's an array. And I now need, bothers me, I want to put that down. Okay, add transaction. So function add transaction. We know that this takes in a transaction. What do we want to do? We want to put this inside of the transactions. So that's in register transactions. Now, the first time I go through any of these things, it really helps me to not try to be clever and like delve deeply into something. So I'm going to just be long-handed about this. Let's say const transactions equals register dot transactions. There we go. And now once I have those transactions, now I can just push that in. So transactions dot push transaction. Very wordy. Also, I forgot how to get rid of that, so I need to reload there. Let's run this test again, see if we put it in there. No, apparently. You need a function named, reset. Okay, so can add a transaction object. Okay, so I need a function named reset. Well, that's all it's telling me, so let's just go and do that. Function reset. And here that is. Let's run this. Your register should be empty. Well, okay, so oftentimes, like, a lot of people just go read the actual documentation from like the README. I often don't do that because I just don't actually trust documentation ever. So I'm going to come into the test and just read the test itself. So, ooh, this is fun. Let's make this big. Okay, well, here's this first one. Can add an object to the register array. There's a lot of code here, but what I'm looking for is this specific error object that I got, the error code. Your register should be empty. Okay, so assert.equal your code, so my code, dot register transactions length 0. Okay, so it's going, look here, it runs my code, runs reset, and then it says that the transactions array should be 0. All right, I can deal with this. Let's come back down here. So if I want it to be length 0, right now it's length 0. So I just need to remove everything from this array. Or I could just say, well, I could just copy this line again. And transactions equals an empty array. Well, actually, I don't think that will work, will it? Let's try it. I have an inkling that this might not work, but I want to actually try it out because I'm always curious about whether or not these things like happen, and if I'm not sure about something, I default to just trying it as opposed to then backing off.
Brooks, I do got a question.
Yes.
In the real world, are you going to be kind of provided with these tests, and you're going to code to the test a lot of times? I mean, or are you coming up with stuff, like just to solve a generic problem? You got to write your own tests or something.
So the question is, are tests provided for me? The answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Sometimes it might be, it might not be.
Okay.
Depends upon the role of the company. Okay, assignment to a constant variable. Oh, I can't do that because I use this const thing right here. So, well, I'm using this ES6 thing. I need to change this to let now. All right, let's try this again. Running it again. Still 0 passing. Your register should be empty. Well, so I got that back again. I know that what that means is that this has a length of more than 0. So this tells me that that was a complete and utter failure and that I couldn't do it. So I'm just going, nope, I can't do that here. Over here. I'm just going to undo that. Okay, what do I need to do? I need to make sure that this gets set to 0. I don't think I can bring this out like I did before. Instead, I'm just going to go straight into it and say register.transactions and set this to an empty array here. I cannot remember. Cal, do you remember how to get rid of the scratch?
I always just navigate into the pane and close it.
Oh.
But yeah, mine does that too. I don't plug it. So I don't even know what plugin is doing it.
Yay, fun. Okay. So let's try this. Green check mark. Okay, so immediately, the next thing I do is get this saved. Git add index, git commit -m, got transactions working with tests. Git push. This is on a forked version. I'm not actually putting this into the, the normal Git G-School one. Although I should probably double check that. Git
Yes, you should, Brooks.
git remote -v. Yep, that's mine. Okay, so
How often should we be doing that?
You
Oh.
answer that. I would love to hear your thoughts after the fact on this. Okay, so let's move on. npm test. We got one done. Time to move on to the next one. Can sum a collection of transactions. Okay, so you need a function called getTotal. Sweet, that's easy. Function getTotal. And remove these. Save. I am done. Time to see if this worked. Oh, well, apparently it didn't work. Total should return the correct amount. Okay. So getTotal needs to do something. So total of probably everything sold or whatever is in these transactions. So getTotal is going to be executed and it's going to do something. Well, I know it's going to be executed. I'm now just going to do console.log and take a look at what is in register.transactions. Do this annoying get rid of it thing. Save it. Let's rerun our tests. And if I scroll up, here is my console log. And okay, Kyle is the cashier. This is the date. Items, object.object. Okay, so items is an array. There's multiple, okay, so he sold more than one thing, apparently.
I'm not bad at sales.
I didn't ask you, Kyle. I can make assumptions about how good of a salesman.
No, I was bad at all kinds of things. Sales was not one. I was bad at international food ingredient sales. I was very, very good at beer sales.
All right. we are getting off topic on this. So, okay, so what I want to do is loop through these items, figure out what they look like, but I am pretty sure that if I want to total them, there's 2 of these, I'm going to need to add them together. So I'm going to do let, because this is going to change, let total equals 0. We're going to start with 0. I'm assuming that this is sales. I will find out very quickly from my test if that's wrong. Okay, so let's loop through this. So for let I equal 0, I is less than. Well, this is, I hate putting like dot things in here. So I am going to run this little trick right here. All right, so here's my transactions. I is less than transactions dot length. I plus equals to 1. All right, so I'm looping through. Let's take a look at what each of these transactions, actually, that's wrong. I have transactions, but I want to loop through the items, don't I? Okay, that's a problem. Const items. And actually, this could be a thing. I do need to loop through these. What if there's more of these? This test clearly only gave 1. I mean, you need to go both. Okay, so I need to loop through transactions. And inside of each transaction, okay, this could get complicated quickly. So const current transaction equals transactions of I. All right, so I have my current transaction. Now I need, for this current transaction, to loop through each of the items. All right, so for let, can't use I, j equals 0. J is less than current transaction. That sucks. Const items equals current transaction dot items. So much better. Items dot length. J plus equals to 1. Okay, so now we're in here. Let's get the current item. Const current item equals items of J. Okay, so we're doing this just to even look at what this friggin' item looks like. Console.log item current item. Save. I just wrote a bunch of code. I need to make sure this runs. npm test. Let's come up here. All right, so here's an item. ID, price, descriptions, quantity. Ooh, they're playing a little bit of tricky with me. And price, ooh, it's a floating point number because some of them have decimal points and some of them do not. I don't like the fact that some of them don't, but I can't really change that.
I didn't either.
Okay, so what I want to do here is, if I want to get all of these, well, we're already looping through these items. I need to get the price. Well, okay, so I can get this current price that's in this current item, multiply it against the quantity of them, and then add that result to the total. And then at the very end, just return that. Okay, cool. Want to keep you up so I can reference you. I'm immediately going to remove my console log. It's not of any use for me anymore. Okay, so I have my current item. Just to make this really easy on myself, I want the price. So const price equals current item dot price. Okay, I want the quantity. Const quantity equals current item dot quantity. Well, that should be it. I don't need to look at like the item number 2. That'd be weird. And I want to add this to total. So I'm gonna just do const. Would it be subtotal, mini total? current total, how about current total? Equals, well, it's going to be my price times quantity. Now, once I have that, my current total, assuming it is a number, which hopefully it is, I can now total plus equals current total. Okay. Now we come out to the very end of the function, which is, okay, that's that one. And I'm just going to return the total. Save. Run our tests. And green check mark. All right. Now, is there anything I want to do to refactor this? So I could like, put all these into one line. Like that's certainly something that I could do. I could put this into like a different function and run that elsewhere. Make it a little bit easy for me to just like see. This is one function that I can see in one full page, and that's my limit. If I go beyond one full page, I am adding more functions. For right now, I think this is going to be good, but time to go to get. Status, get add index, get commit, -m. We can get totals now. Get push. And let's do our test again just to see where we're at. Okay, last test for Galvanize Money version 1. Can return the total as a string. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, right here. Your code get formatted total is not a function. Formatted total. Okay, let's go take a look at that. Get formatted total. Function get formatted total. All right, I am done. Maybe the test makers will accept this. No, they didn't. Okay, undefined is equal to 1.00. Okay, well that total, Kyle says he's really good at sales, but this was $1 in an entire day. Okay, so.
It's a test. I was doing that in my sleep for an example. Can't stop selling, babe.
All right, so undefined. Well, I happen to know that functions in JavaScript return undefined by default, but just to make sure I understand this, if I cheat and I just say return 1.00, hit save, rerun the tests, I am good, it works!
Yeah, right? I was very nervous watching you do that. I was like, fuck, did I put 3 test cases in there?
No, you did not. But this won't pass if you hand it to us. So I now know exactly what I want to do though. Because I need something to automatically get that total and turn it into this full string here. So, well, the first thing, I have this other function. I can use it. This will get me the total, get total. So I'm going to first just say const total equals get total. And then, well, I know that there is this like toString method. So let's try that. So return total.toString. npm test did not work. Oh, it turned it into just a 1. Okay, so I do know that there is some way to format this like money and like give it a full float thing. I can never, ever, ever actually remember what it is. So here is where we're going to go out to Google. Let's do some Google searching.
I don't believe you. Are you pretending not to know that?
No, I actually forget this every time because I use it like once every year or something like that. Okay, so search result. Also, I did this thing a while ago, and I still can't remember what it is. All right, well, I know that it is JavaScript. So JS, this is number to string, but I want with money format. Maybe somebody's written a blog somewhere about this. How can I format numbers as dollars, currency, string? First result. Let's do it. Now this is
YOLO.
This is Stack Overflow. This question has been upvoted 1,310 times. Apparently, it's a very popular question. Skipping right down to the first answer, you can use profits to fixed 3 returns this amount rounded up. To fixed 2 return. Okay, got it. All right. So instead of to string, I want to fixed. Save that. Rerun it. Well, it would help if I actually followed what it said and put 2 in here. Green check mark. Got it. Time to do my get up arrow. We can print the total amount with 2 decimal points. And so here, I ran into a fun problem with this. Nothing's happening, and if I look really carefully, it's because I started with a quote. I just need to hit quote, and let me hit quote again. Whatever. Also, changes are not saved. Okay, I'm gonna go delete all these quotes and add that. No changes. Oh, I need to get commit -am because I forgot to add. There it goes. Get status to make sure it did what I wanted to. Get push. Okay, so I know we're going to do lightning talks in a few minutes, so what I want to do is end the live coding section right here, and I see like a bunch of you wrote your notes down, so I would like to have a chat about what you wrote down. What things did we get out of this? Yes?
Like I asked you in the beginning, yeah, you committed a lot. Seems like you're doing it right after each passing test. You removed your console logs immediately when you didn't need them. You weren't super fancy right away. You reused functions, and your functions were more than one full page.
Yes.
So those were all pretty good tips, actually.
Awesome. Anybody else?
As far as approaching the problem, when Google searching, you imagine what the blog article would look like.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing is when you get stuck, is look at other solutions and then go back to your see if you can replicate it without looking back at it as much as you can. And then you ran a lot of tests. You kind of just program by errors, basically. You did get stuck, and you read the test file. You just kept running tests and finding out what the answer they're looking for and just trying to figure out how to get there. Console logged a lot, and then what I'll do differently, I'll be committing a lot more, running a lot more tests. And then you do a lot of incremental programming. Like you did one little piece at a time, see if that worked, ran tests and see if that worked, and then on to the next thing. Instead of trying to figure out the whole thing, running it, and having to start from scratch again.
Yeah. What else? What other just thoughts, feelings, things?
What's the difference between the constant and the variables?
The constant and variable. A const cannot be changed ever again. So you saw that I got an error when I tried to reassign it to something else. Not allowed to do that, which means that current item is now set as current item forever. Let is just like var.
I think I really appreciated watching you use just like the trial and error approach. I think that's the approach I'm probably more comfortable with coming from think a shared like IT background where you're just like, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to do, so I'm just gonna start doing stuff, and then but I think that you manage your approach a little better than just kind of throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. So I think taking that trial and error approach, but with kind of like a goal in mind, or what am I trying to do first, instead of just I need to just do this. So I think I'm gonna try to couple, what am I trying to do? Okay, try a bunch of stuff, but always make sure that is it getting me towards this thing I'm trying to do.
Yes.
So it's helpful to see.
Yes, like I don't think I've ever had a point when I'm building software that I know what I'm doing. Like it's always based upon I have an image in my mind, I have a target to get to, let's go baby steps towards it and just see what happens.
I very much did that today. I was working on a pixel project in my head this morning. I was like, yeah, baby steps are the exact same thing. It's like, okay, just little bits at a time. And it helped. It helped a lot. Like, all right, just get the screen doing. Don't worry about, like, I have a bad problem of trying to worry about the entire program, getting from point A to point Z without going through B, C, D, and E.
Yeah. All right, anything else?
What's the advantage of like just working backwards to the test as opposed to just reading the directions?
For me, it's because I've been burned so many times by comments or directions being wrong that I just go straight to the test themselves. They're written in code, and that's what's actually running. They cannot lie.
But then do you run the risk of getting burned by getting code that satisfies the tests, but doesn't actually function when you pass the test by setting it equal to the string it wanted, as opposed to stringifying your total?
Yes, absolutely, I can run into that. And that's where, as a professional, it would be up to me to realize that I'm doing that and add another test. So add enough tests that it forces me to write defensively and add more things. It's based on the idea that I want to write the very minimum amount of code to make the test pass, and nothing more. And if I've written too little code, add another test.
I guess this is how I want to see to make sure your thought process. My biggest issue is I feel like I'm understanding when I'm doing readings and the medieval practice drills, but once it comes to the actual drills, I'm still having trouble with kind of seeing certain word maybe we should put another breakout on how certain words associate with you only have for loop in this case.
So how did I know to do that first for loop?
You basically know that anytime you are seeing an array, you need to do anything with, you're going to need to loop through it, because you're not targeting unless you're targeting a specific array element at an index. You can basically assume that anytime you need to do something with a whole array, or even just looking for something in an array, you're going to need to use a loop.
Well, we also create the array here, so how do you know when you're going to create the array? That's the whole combine together.
Kind of like when we're starting from scratch.
So if I'm creating my own data, array is a data structure. There's only two data structures in JavaScript, arrays and objects. And it's just ways to store things. Either you're storing them in a list where it's labeled 0, 1, 2, 3, or it's stored in a list which is labeled by a human-defined word. And just make a decision, what makes the most sense for your data? 0, 1, 2, 3, or a word. Sometimes it's actually very easy to say oh, a list actually makes sense. For example, you guys are stored in what kind of data structure? How do you know you're an array? Well, but just in general, have you guys been assigned anything that would tell you if you're a string or a number? What do we do every morning and every evening?
We have numbers.
You have numbers, and you go in a certain order that's the same order every single time. That tells me that you're in an array. Now, I'm super happy to go back through this and like in one-on-ones or just like in random helps, go through and help out. One thing that I don't think you guys mentioned, but I want to point out is doing this pattern where I had I broke everything out into variables instead of trying to like go through loops with register dot transactions dot, that's just terrible. My mind breaks down if I get too deep inside of an object. This is the only way that I can do nested for loops. Now I can come back in and change it again once I've written it, and then it will look like I know how to do that. But I can't act like my brain literally will just fail to do it, and I'll get errors after errors after errors.
I think it's also like really helpful just understanding how you've taken the time to understand how you think about problems in general. You've taken the time to understand how you use Vim, which is insane. I applaud you for that. And so I think that's helpful. Like I think I've tried to do that a little bit, but I think I'm trying to throw all of my like past history out the window instead of just like, oh, I know how to do this stuff. I just don't know how to do this specific thing, but I know how to work through problems. I think I do feel like I don't know how to do this, but it's a problem.
Yeah,
that's helpful to hear.
Like one big thing is there's no reason to ever be embarrassed about breaking these things out into different variables or something like that because some other developer, you saw them do it all in one clever line. In my mind, people who do clever things in code should be taken out back and re-educated.
Do you have any kind of suggestions? Like, so I guess I've never considered this like level 2, whereas like level 1 is that kind of like first day stuff of like doing arithmetic and like console logging, just like things in the array that's right there. What's like kind of level 1.5 where you can kind of begin to do something beyond just like those basic fundamentals to kind of get you a little more like comfortable essentially like solving problems and like writing your own JavaScript, not just like having somebody tell you to like write a for loop and then like writing that exact for loop on like line.
Probably solving just little problems like this over and over and over and over again, especially if they include things like you saw that what I did to look up the 2 fixed again. That's something that would force you to do that with any other methods that you're not completely familiar with. One of the best ones is Code Wars. How many of you have heard of Code Wars? All right, not enough. Let's show you Code Wars. There's a ton of these out here, by the way. Code Wars is basically just a website you go to, you register yourself on it, and they'll give you little code challenges. And then you choose what language to use with. Obviously, you're going to choose JavaScript to begin with. This ever loads.
You just did a search for it.
Well, I'm now trying to click on the actual link. And maybe they're down right now. But anyways, you can create an account and they'll just give you things like, okay, given, I want you to find like the highest prime. Or I want you to, it's sort of like our warm-ups in the morning for JavaScript. They just have a lot more of them. And it's great practice. Just do it over and over and over and over and over again. For example, just to create an account, they make you solve a problem in programming. They won't. They're very slow right now. Like they say, this code doesn't execute properly. Try to figure out why. Maybe. All right. With that, I am going to declare that this lesson is done. I have recorded it so that